All right, I had to turn the music off and do another. What I tried to do was listen to music and also do an oral review of Donald Hoffman's theory on evolution and fitness. So I got caught off track, and that inner voice came inside that said, you're a failure, don't do this, stop. And so I had to just end and say start again. So here we go again. So interestingly, so Donald Hoffman, he's, if you want to see him, I'll provide the links, but he's been on the Big Think, he's been on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he has, he was helpful in implementing what's called a game theory for looking at these very strange things that physicists were seeing on the edges of the systematic equations. And these systematic equations pop up in organisms over and over again and provide a link between the organisms and what Terrence Howard called was the electric field. So I'm going to jump into what. So Terrence Howard went on Joe Rogan's podcast and had groundbreaking discovery in that essentially there's an outward pressure and an inward pressure, and it's essentially caused by electricity. And I believe the other force he said was radiation. So you have one force, the electricity, that I wouldn't say, as Terrence Howard said, I would say the electricity is an overwhelming unbearing force, and the radiation is an overwhelming unbearing force. So you have to kind of find a balance between them. The instinct is to lean towards one, but then once you lean towards one, you have to end it immediately and move on. You end it immediately and move on. And I think what Terrence Howard was saying, it's really windy. I think what Terrence Howard was saying was that you should stop right now. You should stop right now and really evaluate if scientists are going in the right direction. He talked about the tree of life, and my theory is that the tree of life is it's an electrical impulse imprintation on human beings. So an electrical impulse imprintation on human beings that came from some type of dependency that was born between the man and the machine. This is where you have to really tap into the creative side. Because when you think of the man and the machine, this has been talked about in so many different creative avenues. You have Pink Floyd, you have so many different types of electronic artists in rock and roll, and even Jimi Hendrix was trying to show everyone, just go grab a guitar, plug it into the machine, and let it take you over. You could see a force taking him over when he does this. And I believe this force is Terrence Howard's theory on the pull and push of electricity. So again, I'm still working on nailing it down, but I think it's definitely some type of electrical impulse imprintation that happens. And it seems like it only happens in like 0.01% of the population. It might be even lower than that. So tying that back to Donald Hoffman's theory on fitness. So these forces, the push and pull, are actually like universally understood without being able to mathematically show them. That's where I would deviate from Donald Hoffman. I think he believes that we have the math and the simulations to prove the fitness theory, but in reality, you just got to you got to reevaluate the data and just keep going and not get too caught up in like the specifics of it. But it's something that you feel when you tap into it's something that you feel when you tap into your past memories of your old self. That's a really hard one to unpack, but this gets into the fitness theory. This gets into the fitness theory that our humans' minds actually recognize that they were projecting their personalities from external environmental factors. So you created a false self. This is really talked about in like Carl Jung's work. He talks about the old self, I think the void, the negretto, the blackness, and then the white, the enlightenment phase. And what happens is people get so knocked down and lose their will to live that the brain triggers a response for you to tell yourself, why don't you take control of your life and take this simulation over? And it's overwhelming for the brain, and it can show itself or manifest itself in spiritual delusions, bipolar maniacs, running the street as predators, and just maybe just simple meditative reflection. I'm not sure, but what we know is other people have experienced it, and there's a connection. What you have to do in that spirit of keeping the pursuit, you start to develop the reflexes to persist, even though your body's like, you're shutting down. I'm going to take these headphones off and listen outside. I think I was trying to protect myself because I was nervous to do this. Anyway, here we go. Feeling a little bit better with that. So we were talking, getting back to Donald's theory on fitness. So these people who are able to identify their old self and pull themselves out of their own head by saying, hey, why don't you take over the simulation? These people are believed to have had a fitness brain, right? That's something that we're believing that evolution has selected to continue on. And I think we have strong evidence for that because the physicists who are screaming that this has happened, this change has happened, this is going on, there's some type of links between them that are inexplicable. So, yeah, I hope you were able to get something out of this. I was, and just keep going. That's all I would say.